It's an emergency podcast on white nationalism. It's entitled Dear Ortho Guys. Guys, it's Heavy Things Lightly. My intro today is it's an emergency podcast. Here's what happened. Well, first of all, I want to say toast to you guys, to the wide audience that continues to grow at Heavy Things Lightly. We're almost as big as like a kid who starts tomorrow and tweaks an algorithm and ends up with like 40,000 guys watching him in a week. I don't know how they do that. It seems illegal. It seems a little Facebook friendly to me. It feels like somebody's back there doing stuff. Oh, here's the editor guy, Andrew. Andrew, are you on the call? We're recording. You can hear it, but we don't have to talk much. Just want you there in case I'm going to have like a mechanical issue or something. I have a lot of those. I'm making a toast right now. How are you?
I'm good.
He said, I'm good. I don't know if you can hear him. We haven't tested any of these systems, but I don't really care because I'm having an emergency podcast, Andrew. And just stay close, all right? Be attentive.
I'm here.
How are you feeling today in Argentina? Guys, it's a white nationalist. It's a thing about white nationalism. It's entitled, Hey, Ortho Guys. And Andrew, I decided not to call them Ortho Bros. I think that there's a transition happening out there to Ortho Guys. I think there's a movement afoot to get away from Ortho Bros and to go to Ortho Guys. So I'm going to do a podcast about that. But I'm making a toast right now, and I want the toast to be meaningful. So I want to say to things that aren't written down. Sometimes things shouldn't be written down, like this emergency podcast about white nationalism. I'm not writing it down. It's just coming all from my heart, which is dangerous. Although we're not really big enough to get canceled, Andrew. We're not big enough, right? No one cares. So what difference does it make? No one cares. Nobody cares about what we say. But I got to say these things. So I want to make a toast to things that aren't written down. Sometimes you have to speak from the heart. God Marjos. God Marjos. God Marjos. So, but I put my drink down and I think about what I wanted to say. I was put on X, Twitter. I was put on Twitter by Rich. So Rich is my friend who's like a PR I would call him a PR genius. I think I would. I think we're not paying him like a genius. We're paying him like he's a PR moron, actually. But he's a PR guy. But I like him. He's also involved in restaurants. And I like him. Well, I love him, actually. But he put me on X, as you know, editor man, there on the phone. I really like this hookup. Like, you're there, but you're not there. Just in case I get in trouble, you can stop me from the N-word and stuff like that. So it's nice to have you, but don't talk because you'll ruin my deep thoughts. I'm just kidding, Andrew. But I want to talk about Rich. Rich is the PR guy that put me on X. And what happened was when he put me on X, I had to know, can I curse on here, Andrew? What's the situation going on?
I mean, it's not going live, so feel free to curse.
It's not going live. I'm just pissed. And it's not a really good way to go into a podcast, but I'm doing it because Rich put me on X. Richard, the PR genius, being paid like a moron, put me on X. And then I started to do the thing that you do on X, which is read. And when I was reading, then my eyeballs were taking in people that Rich had decided to follow. So I was reading things on the phone because I'm not good at it. Someone's going to go, yeah, no cap, buddy. You're a freaking Gen X boomer guy. You're an idiot. And that's what I learned about X is everybody's an idiot. But reading the people that Rich told me that he followed for me was terrifying. Because Rich apparently decided that I should follow some people that are following people that are following. And then I got something like I'm following Jared Taylor. Okay. I'm not going to unfollow the dude. Never knew who that was. Jared Taylor is in my feed. See, I'm learning the language. Learning the language of Twitter. And what I learned is Jared Taylor is now my Twitter associate. And like me, he is a moron. Okay, so we're moroning it out. We're battling out for moron of Twitter space. I'm a moron because I followed him, and he's a moron because he puts, what is he doing? Then I realized, wait a minute, this isn't just like Rich connected me to like the voice of Kamala or something, because I don't think Kamala's that smart either. But he had connected me to a guy who's a white nationalist. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is what they talk about. I don't pay close enough attention because I'm running an organization. And then when I do pay attention, I'm like, oh, I've heard people complain about white nationalists. And then I realized I've heard people say good things about Jared Taylor, the white. And then I realized, wait a minute, a lot of ortho bros like this dude. So just to give you an idea, his latest post, or one of them, was, let's make 2025 a great year for World Brotherhood of Europeans. That was recent. Jared, if you're listening, you probably don't care because you have many more followers than that. The whole follower currency thing is also terrifying. But anyway, and there's guys out there right now, right, Andrew? There's guys out there right now going, wow, this guy's like just catching up. Is he a Flintstone? Like, does he live in a cave? I kind of want to go back to the cave after listening. So anyway, can we put up a picture of Jared Taylor? Is that allowed? Was that defamation just because he is who he is? Andrew, editor Andrew, not PR Rich, editor Andrew.
Sure. No, he's in the public sphere. He's got photos out there.
Editor Andrew said we can put up his photo. I'm not trying to. No one cares about what I say anyway. There's not enough followers. Okay. But Jared Taylor, there's something he identifies as the World Brotherhood of Europeans. So, having done a little bit of living and speaking and hanging with various types of people, and having to figure out in depth through a lot of teaching and just moments alone in places like Sierra Leone and Mali and Burkina Faso and Mozambique and South Africa and the Caucasus, named after Caucasians. Not really, incorrect history, by the way. If Guatemalans, Mayans, living with all these people, learning these languages, I just had a few thoughts about this post. Let's make 2025 a great year for World Brotherhood of Europeans. Do you mean the Europeans that killed each other in huge numbers, like for 5 years, the worst war ever recorded? You talking about those brothers? The Germans and French. Those, are they brothers? Like, what brotherhood are you talking about? Like, it's just fascinating to love it. Well, brothers sometimes do bad things to brothers. Well, that's funny because sometimes people who aren't related do bad things. What are you talking about? What is the white brotherhood of Europeans? So I started to dig around, and that's when I don't really care what he says, but I really do care that people who call themselves Orthodox think this is good. Okay. And so I have a few thoughts on that. You see, in history, there's a thing, and Andrew, I wanted you to put this up. There's gonna be like a little, it's a triangle. I want to put up a triangle. When we cut this, you put up a triangle. It's going to have colors. And basically, it's a hierarchy of identities. There's a way to know who you are. And what I'm realizing is a lot of these people that are coming into the Orthodox Church, and there's a lot of them. I just saw a picture of like 50 catechumens standing there for the blessing at a church down in Florida. I won't say his name, Father Paul. Father Paul and his parish down there got all these catechumens. Father Paul is brown, by the way. It's weird. I think he would qualify as brown in this stupid thing called race hierarchy that these white nationalists do. It's so moronic. Here's why. Is people throughout history have identified themselves as a part of a race, or as a part of an ethnicity, or of a part of let's say a foundational faith, as a way to know who they are. So the idea of identity is real. White nationalists, well done. You must identify and be closely attached to something, or your life, as we see with the postmodern nihilists, as we see with New York. My daughter was just walking into a grocery store in their city, and a lady got stabbed in her face next to him, and another guy got stabbed, and they ran. And my daughter was literally right there. That guy who was stabbing people was a nihilist. But here's what Jared Taylor's interested in, white nationalist: what color he was. That's like hilarious to me. Andrew, there's nothing funnier than, oh my God, someone was stabbed in the face randomly without any meaning. What color were they? What? That's the move? I heard that recently there was a car crash in 85. 3 people died. What color were they? What? What are you doing? What are you doing? And this is the part that actually is freaking me out the most. Is many of these white nationalists, all of them, in fact, also call themselves white nationalist Christians. These cats have literally like a 3rd grade ontology. Their notion of being, their anthropology, what is a human being, is so childish. It's a disordered hierarchy where they take pigmentation and bone structure, because that's what it is. Go look it up. I know someone's going to go, because I know these guys. I know these ortho guys. By the way, I'm going to say not ortho bros. See, ortho bros probably are going to go click on these white nationalist Christian guys, but ortho guys aren't. I know. It's just my distinction on my podcast with 11 listeners, but I'm doing it. Ortho guys kind of get it, that the ortho nationalist, white nationalist morons, that these guys are trying to search for identity. And they're trying to create an identity where they take this pigmentation bone structure thing and they elevate it. They elevate genos. So genos is a real thing that you inherit. It is your genes, and it makes you look a certain way, and that is part of your identity. Congratulations, Carl Linnaeus and all these other scientists from the Enlightenment, guys like Charles White, Benjamin Rush, a founding father. Don't make me quote Benjamin Rush, but I'm gonna. Benjamin Rush literally believed that non-whites were really white, but they'd been stricken by a leprosy. That's hilarious. Thanks, Benjamin Rush, one of the foremost scientific minds of the 18th century. Thanks for that. That was really helpful. Really helpful. Here's Samuel Stanhope, a Presbyterian minister from the early 1800s. Negro pigmentation is nothing more than a giant freckle. I wish I was making this up, but these guys are like renowned light people, enlightened thinkers who are telling us that being black is because you have a giant freckle. It just happens to cover your whole body. And that's why he's like, but that's why we shouldn't be mad at them, because they just have an oversupply. And that's what makes them not whole. Guys, I can go on with this, but what I'm trying to say is that every society has tried to deal with difference, human differences, differentiations. And so guess what? Every society has a narrative about what the difference is about. Some elevate the difference by elevating stupid stuff like nose structure and skull size. And they do that because they have a predisposition for the material. They like material shit. They're called materialists. And so they really put a lot of effort in seeing what kind of material you're made of. That's not how it works. That's not how Christians work. That's not what Christians are. You hear St. Maximus. He says all Christians are the perfect unity of body and soul, the unseen. No Christian worth anything is ever going to elevate the material parts of a human being above their actual reality, which is a perfect unity, right? Humanity was fully given God's image. Fully. God is all things. We are all things. Hello. So the problem is some cultures have elevated, our culture sadly has elevated, and it became eugenics, has elevated race, your genos, to the highest and most important class of identity. And we try to sort of get away from it, but it didn't work very well, because now in this postmodern society, all these people trying to explain their identity, or here's the best one, all these white dudes who are feeling so sad. I'm so sad. I applied for 2 jobs and was rejected because of my race. Get over it already. You're a Christian, bro. That job doesn't define you anyway. I know you got to eat. Well, you don't have faith? God's going to deliver. Don't worry. The last thing you want to do, because you're a Christian, you just said so, you found Jesus at the Orthodox Church. The last thing you want to do is start to imagine you're being punished because the brown people came for your job. It's an embarrassment. Way to handle your cross there, buddy. Christ gave you a cross. They come in all kinds of colors and shapes. And it ain't people. Okay? People are not your cross. Your sins are your cross, like your pride and your arrogance, man. These aren't, by the way, I don't know if I sound, Andrew, like I'm smart, because these are not rocket scientist concepts if you're a Christian. They're actually pretty straightforward. It's your problem. Your sin is your problem. You can do a Jared Taylor move and try to explain like he does. It's an embarrassment. Like, the reason these guys clearly can't understand and live because they're so poor in American society is because they're black. I mean, it begs about 50,000 questions, which I'll get back to, which is, wait a minute. So the black people of Sierra Leone are poor also because they're black? Okay, wait. This is going to get weird. What about the rich suburban black who just opened his 5th company? They exist, you know. And he's a billionaire. He's a millionaire. What about that guy? He overcame his pigmentation? It's so stupid. I can't even believe I'm doing this. It's an emergency podcast. It's an emergency podcast. It's not Lent. Can you take drugs because it's not Lent? I just want these ortho bros becoming ortho guys. Ortho guys. Ortho guys do this weird thing, okay? Ortho guys start with their own sins, and then they end, finally, with a recognition of their own sins. That's how it works, okay? Ortho guys start with the recognition that they're going to get crucified as well. See, Christians win when they die. That's the whole concept. Christians don't crucify, they get crucified. Hello? White nationalist Christians, by the way, why do they add the Christian part? Why can't they just be pagan Nazis like Hitler? I don't get it. Why can't they just embrace their secular selves? Why can't they just be regular, old, confused pagans who mix in some science, more paganism, and they all mix it in together, and then they're proud of their own past? Why they got to add some Christian shit in there? I don't get it. Why don't they keep that out of there? Because that part's garbage. When they add that part, it turns into a big, giant, roiling. They gotta stop doing that. Anyway, they won't, though. They won't, because I want to add some Christian stuff on there, too. Who doesn't want to add that? It's like Dairy Queen, Christian Dairy Queen. That seems better. Oh, it used to, until all these jokers from the light people past kept mixing their Christianity with science nonsense. And by science nonsense, here's what I mean. I just want to say it out loud. Am I ranting? I'm ranting. Let's have a moment of fun. Want to? There's a bear and there's a rabbit. the bear, well, the bear said to the rabbit, "Hey, Mr. Rabbit, do you ever have trouble with shit sticking to your fur?" And the rabbit said, I never really had that problem. I never really had that problem. And the bear, who was a friend of the rabbit, said, "Well, that's fantastic." And then he took the rabbit and he used the rabbit to wipe his because of that. So that was just, I took a moment right there, Andrew, my editor, to just add some levity. Is that all right? Can I do that? This guy, Christoph Meiners, he was a German. Who Joseph Goebbels loved. He was a scientist from the late 1700s. He added that the Celts were the noblest humans on Earth, white Celts, because they were more sensitive to heat and to cold than the other races. Yeah. The inferior races are less sensitive. Like the Slavs, he made them very inferior as well, because they're less sensitive and content with eating rough food. You can see the science there, obviously. I mean, that's obviously an objective study from some of these white nationalist Christians' favorite scientists. I'm not making this up. I'm trying to tell you, don't be an ortho bro. Be an ortho guy. Just please, will you please, will you consider it? There's more. I've got more. I'm giving you the founding fathers of white Christian nationalism. I'm giving you the founding fathers. Here's Franz Ignaz, okay, Pruner, a medical doctor who studied the racial structures of Negroes in Egypt. Why? Because he thought the Egyptians were white and the Negroes had come up the Nile and they had, through an influence, mixed Negro blood and destroyed Egyptian moral character. I'm just telling you about the founding fathers of nationalism, of white Christian nationalism. There's more. I got Thomas Jefferson here. Blacks seem to require less sleep. That's a quote from Thomas Jefferson. What? Yes. A black, he says, quote, "after hard labor through the day will be induced by the slightest amusements to sit up till midnight." And they just keep going, those Negroes. What is happening? It's so absurd. It's so wonderfully absurd. Every comic ever should be doing this. And then white nationalists should have to defend their founding fathers. First of all, the studies of these people are absurd. Okay. They're like sad. And I know race science has come a long way since the eugenicists took over. Boy, they were getting things right. What? If you're a Christian and also a eugenicist, that just makes you Margaret Sanger. Sorry, you get to be the one to figure out how to kill babies in the womb. That's you. You shouldn't do that when you're a Christian. You should stop slandering us, me and Andrew. Andrew's in Argentina. Andrew, are you white in Argentina? What are you, white? What's your deal? Are you white? What are you? You're a white guy. You're pale. So you're a palist. You're a pale man. Do you ever feel like your paleness gets in the way of you maybe offering a tip to a lady at the coffee store? Do you ever, coffee shop? You're like, I would offer a tip, but I'm pale. Does that happen to you? Like, oh my gosh, I was reaching for a generous activity, like a tipping activity, but my whiteness got in the way, or your blackness. What's your wife? Isn't she Russian? Oh, she's an inferior Slav, according to Benjamin Rush.
Yeah.
My editor's married to a Slav, and every day I think, man, he could have been somebody. You could have been somebody. Then you had Slav mongrel babies. I feel bad for you, man. You were doing good. He was doing good. You know why? Because he was super smart. You know why he was super smart? Because he was white. And if you just had him add stuff up, he could do it because he's white. White people can add, man. I love white people because they add. Also, they can subtract too. They can add and subtract. All right. Just want to make one more point. Can I make one more point and then we'll close it up? Maybe we'll do part 2. We'll see how it goes and do part. This is an emergency podcast. You never know. Might have another emergency. Maybe you guys will put me on a new platform. Maybe you'll put me on I don't know, what's another platform? Where do all the well, I already have Rumble. Here's the ironic part, Mr. Editor Man. This is the irony of it all. I like all the places where all the idiots go. Like and by the way, here I say idiot like a brotherhood of idiocy. I mean like we're together as brothers of like I go to Rumble, bro. Like I go watch I like Mel Gibson ranting on Rumble. Who doesn't like that? I really think the security state is a total mess. The security state is evil. Like I go where those people talk like that. But then all of a sudden a white nationalist, Christian, by the way, you add the Christian part and it pisses me off. But you had anyway, those dudes start showing up and they're like, aren't you glad you finally found a home? What are they talking about? Like if only we had North Dakota or something. It's like a joke. Anyway, I can't. Here's why it's a joke, and I'll end. Here's why it's a joke, because just a cursory look through history, and you see in a hot second, it's a hot second. It's like a sun second. It's a second on the sun. You can see it's not hard that all societies have wrestled with differentiation, but they don't come up to these answers. Only the materialist atheists, driven by their objective study of the natural world, only they come to the conclusion, right, that there's an ugly black race because of their melanin, and they can't add. It's only those people that went so far as to think that, and you can go back and check it, okay? Because when the Greeks were talking about how bad the Ethiopians were, they weren't talking about blacks. They were talking about Ethiopians, which is a type of ethnicity with a type of language and a god. And then together, those three elements created a type of culture. And that type of culture, for the Greeks, lacked, shall we say, beauty. That's what happens. People notice differences and make conclusions. Unfortunately, white nationalists who add Christian onto the end, or in the middle, wherever the they add it, white Christians, nationalists, people, unfortunately, do what everybody else has done in human history. They try to account for differentiation, and they elevate objective material science, which is not even a thing in race studies. Race studies are embarrassing for their objective scientific study. And then they hold that up as the highest way to understand the differences. Guys, try to figure out differences. Go for it. There's nothing wrong with that. It's normal. For instance, why is pale Andrew so stingy? Because he's pale. That's stupid. It's hilarious. It's hilarious that people come to these conclusions. There's lots of reasons pale Andrew's stingy. But I don't even know if you're really stingy. I'm just saying, I'm using you as an example in the phone. By the way, you're stuck in my phone, which is only a modern problem. You've never heard about pre-Enlightenment, someone getting stuck in their phone. That wouldn't happen. I want to quote something. It's a serious moment. Okay. St. Maximus the Confessor. Probably smarmy, swarthy for you white nationalists / add Christian and piss me off people. Maximus, what is he? Where's he living again? He's sort of, isn't he Turkic at the time? He's not Turkic. He's Greek, but where was he? I think he was Pontus. Anyway, he's in a place now that white nationalist Christians would call forgotten and dirty and brown and, send people back home to those places. Maximus, one of the great all-time Christians, he says this, is that all humans, each and every one, are meant to commune with God in his entirety. All are the center of the created universe. All are unified in perfect body and perfect soul. All share in a hypostasis, and that hypostasis is shared with God. Each of us is like unto God. Now, except for like an Indian guy. I mean, they're brown and they're not. I'm sure he didn't mean Indians. I mean, he definitely did. He didn't mean a Namibian. Come on. Everybody knows that. He was just talking about all people except for those people. That's the end. Ah, what a day. I'm so much closer now to understanding. I want to thank everybody. More to come. Support First Things. I probably lost some potential supporters. If we could have faked them out, then we could have got some white nationalist supporters, Andrew. So I blame my podcast for cutting out white nationalist dough. White nationalist Christian dough. White Christian nationalist dough? How do they say it? Do you know? White dough that's Christian. Well, how about this? It wouldn't be black dough. Black dough would be bad. Brown dough's the worst. Brown dough. Nobody wants brown dough. That's funny. I'm going to stop. I love you. First Things. I don't know if I should ever do one of these again. I don't care. It had to be said. Peace out. Much love. This is Heavy Things Lightly. That was an episode deemed an emergency. Peace out.